In this episode, highlights from Crosby, Stills, Nash & Young's live set. And we'll talk with singer Graham Nash.
But you know we're riding on the Marrakesh Express. But you know we're riding on the Marrakesh Express. They're taking me to Marrakesh on board the train.
What was happening in the 60s, especially as far as the younger people were concerned, there was a lot of tension. There was the Vietnam War going on. There was the struggle for human rights, for African Americans and for women and for poor people. It was a time of great upheaval.
20 years ago, we're coming to this life. The song of a woman and a man who lived in strife. He was tired of being poor.
Graham Nash.
And what the singer-songwriters were doing were reacting to the headlines in the newspaper and the headlines on the news, and that became part of what we wrote about because it was happening to us as people. I mean, there was a lot to write about, and we just were there at a time with an art form in our hands and our hearts, and we utilized it to the best way that we knew.
Take a sister, then by the hand, lead her away from this foreign land. Far away, we might laugh again, not leaving.
Eddie Kramer produced and engineered music for Jimi Hendrix, the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, Led Zeppelin, and many more. Kramer was in charge of live recording at the Fillmore East when he got the call for Woodstock.
I was in the car with Thelma Schumacher going upstate at 4 o'clock in the morning. We arrived there about 6, and the sun's coming up over the horizon, and we see all this construction going on. There's no way we're going to be recording this today. It's a mess. But we did. All that gear that was sitting at the Fillmore East got shipped up there with another 8-track machine and some more bits and pieces, and that's what we used. Woodstock was just thrown at me, and it happened. It was a happening, and you just sort of, let's figure out how we're going to get the stuff on tape.
40 years later, Kramer remixed the live performances from Woodstock. He got the chance to fix some of the problems in the original.
For instance, on the Santana track of Evil Ways, the first half of the song is unusable up to this point because the guitar was out of tune and it was leaking everywhere. And I got Carlos to fix that and put extra percussion tracks in with the original guys. Now that to me is a legitimate use of overdubbing when you can go to the original source.
You got to change your evil ways, baby, before I stop loving.
Guitarist and singer Johnny Winter.
Oh, yeah.
Johnny Winter and band found themselves on stage without much warning.
The main thing I remember was getting in sometime in the afternoon. We thought we were supposed to be going on late that afternoon or early that night. And I remember going to sleep with my head on a bag of garbage and saying, somebody try to, wake me up at least a couple hours before we're supposed to go on. And I woke up and it was nighttime. We're feeling, like you'd expect to feel after sleeping on a bag of garbage for a few hours. And so we figured we'd get up and walk around a little bit and see who the band was and try to get ourselves hyped up and ready for the show. And so the three of us kind of staggered, still half asleep, onto the stage. And somebody grabbed us and said, here's a band that's all together. We'll put you guys on. And we said, wait a minute, no, we're supposed to go on after the next group. And they said, well, I don't remember who the next group was supposed to be, but they weren't all there at the time. And they just grabbed us and said, you guys play.
singer and songwriter Country Joe McDonald.
Well, I never saw one fight or a real argument over anything in those 3 days. And everyone helped everyone else. At one point, in front of the stage, two guys got up and started to have a fight with each other. And the crowd separated, so they cleared a little space out so they could do it, you know. Then the crowd began saying, "Don't do that, cool out." And then the guys cooled out and hugged each other, you know, and everyone ran around hugging each other and saying, "Oh, I'm sorry," and stuff like that. And then they all sat down, you know. Well, yeah, that's not normal behavior at a rock concert.
Oh, your love is like a rainbow. Your love is like a rainbow, darling. Now, your love is like a rainbow. Your love is like a falling all around my shoulders, yeah. Falling all around my shoulders, you know that your love is like a rainbow.
At Woodstock, Country Joe McDonald had a sing-along with almost 500,000 people.
It was sort of an act of faith to relate to it as an audience. I mean, with kind of an echo delay or something on their response. You heard it, but as a kind of a disconnected roar or something. And that's why in Fixing to Die Rag, I implored the audience to sing louder because I couldn't hear them.
And it's 1, 2, 3. What are we fighting for? Don't ask me, I don't give a damn. The next stop is Vietnam. And it's 5, 6, 7. Open up the pearly gates. Well, I ain't no time to wonder why.
Pete Fornatale is the author of Back to the Garden, the story of Woodstock.
They wound up on Max Yasgur's farm in Bethel, New York. Do you know what Bethel means in Hebrew? Sacred place. As we move further and further away from the actual event, it is much less important how many nails were used to build the stage than it is the messages that were written in our hearts and souls.
Pete Fornatale started working at WNEW Radio in New York a few weeks before Woodstock. Here's a bit of what he read for his first live commercial.
The Woodstock Music and Art Fair is a 3-day Aquarian exposition at White Lake in the town of Bethel, Sullivan County, New York. For tickets and information, you can write the Woodstock Music and Art Fair, Box 996, Radio City Station, New York, 10019, or phone Murray Hill 7 0700. That's MU7 0700. Remember, the Woodstock Music and Art Fair is being held at White Lake in the town of Bethel, Sullivan County, New York. They've had their hassles, but it looks like everything's going to be all right.
Don't let the past remind us of what we are not now. I'm not dreaming. I am yours. You are mine. You are what you are.
Woodstock was a grandiose example of hippie counterculture ideals, but Richie Havens watched them work on a smaller scale too.
They had such a wonderful sense of caring for other people. They had free stores. You could walk in if you need a coat in the winter. You walk in, you take one, you leave. And these guys got up early in the morning and they sweep 4 blocks around. All of the garbage is not there anymore. You know, and everybody's saying, wow, it's something different, you know. Yeah, it's clean.
Singer and songwriter Richie Havens.
I could feel it, you know. It's something that we all was waiting for. It's just like Obama being elected, you know, or Kennedy being taken away from us. So we had very much a genuine experience of our times back then. And I expect on the 40th there's going to be probably 2,000 festivals saying we want to be a part of this by just being somewhere, you know, where it's like we're in a great time.
Production-wise, Woodstock was a mess. Absolutely horrific. I felt it was my deepest failure.
Chip Muck designed the stage and lighting for the Woodstock Festival.
Out of the 12 follow spots that we had, we were running out of operators. So we ran classes, and the security had been advised, whatever there was, that what you would do is anybody came up to you and say, I can be of help here, I'm a lighting technician of sorts, or, yep, go over there. So we taught our operators during the day what to do at night.
Chip Muck ran the stage design and lighting and was MC for the weekend.
Michael came up and tapped me on the shoulder at 7 o'clock in the morning on the Friday and said, by the way, I've overlooked finding an MC, so you're it. Okay. Now, had I had to have prepared for that in my head for over a week or something, having had that assigned to me earlier, it would have been total panic. So it was a perfect thing, and he copped to it in October. He copped to it well, he was moderately articulate, and he had nowhere to run.
It rained a lot in Bethel, New York on the weekend of the festival.
There was water on the stage, and the microphones weren't grounded. So when the vocalists were going up to the microphones, they would get shocks. And go, bang.
Grateful Dead drummer Mickey Hart.
The stage was collapsing, they said. Too many of our friends were on it, jumping up and down. And people were screaming, get off the stage, it's going to collapse. Half of the PA went out. It was a frightening experience on stage for us.
Chip Muck ran the production and stage design.
One of my production people thought it would be a good idea to get rid of the rain that had accumulated in this one piece of canvas that was over the downstage center area where you would perform as a principal. Well, normally what you do is push it up in the center by a 2x4 or anything that you could find that could reach that piece of fabric. Well, unfortunately, this guy had a better idea. He taped his penknife to the end of a stick and cut a hole in the middle of it. And you wonder why Joe Cocker looked like he did? The entire contents on Cocker. I'm not sure whether that enhanced, helped, or degraded his performance.
How do I feel at the end of the day? I said because you're on your own. I tell never you say no more. Only can love.